Now let's go to friends and family of the 4 Kenyans incarcerated in Juba, South Sudan, held an overnight vigil outside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs seeking justice for their sons who have been wrongfully imprisoned. The 4 Kenyans are Anthony Mwadime, Ravi Gagda, Boniface Muriuki and Anthony Kea. They were arrested on 19th of May 2015 and later sentenced to life imprisonment in June of that year after being charged with embezzlement of government funds. The families are now pleading with the government to handle the matter with utmost seriousness after failed promises of the safe return of their sons. Today marks 652 days since 4 innocent Kenyan men were wrongfully detained and tried. Friends and family gathered outside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a night vigil for the loved ones held in Juba, but also raised awareness on their plight. The candles offering some light, perhaps telling of the hope that continues to burn within them, a hope that one day their kin will return home.
One day they just came and picked the boss up, and in the afternoon they came and they said, "You are wanted to go and give a statement on your boss," and that is the last time we heard from them.
And that marked the beginning of the frequent trips they were to make to the Foreign Affairs Ministry and the Office of the President, but trips that have so far left the family emotionally drained. According to Wanjeri Nderu of the Kenya Human Rights Commission, the 4 were tried wrongfully.
They've been jailed for 72 years, which is basically a life sentence for a crime our own government admits they did not commit.
And as the family struggled to fight for the freedom of their kin, the 4 Kenyans were languishing in a prison in Juba.
And I saw the 4 Kenyans. They were in a very bad state. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that this had led them to live in a prison and in such a condition. They'd all lost a lot of weight. I think mentally everybody was very unstable. All they kept asking is that, when are we ever going to come home? When will we return home?
It is an act that Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed has condemned, calling it a ridiculous judgment backed with no evidence to link the 4 to the crime.
We will not stop fighting, and we will make sure we get you guys home. That's it. That was the last time, and ever since then, yeah, I've never seen him. I've just spoken to him once when the lawyers had gone to see him.
In October 2015, the families went on a hunger strike with the aim of making their pleas known. That same time, they met with CS Amina Mohammed for the first time. She promised action within 3 weeks. 1.5 years later, they're still waiting. The question of when the 4 Kenyans, Anthony Mwadime, Ravi Gagda, Boniface Muriuki and Anthony Kea will come back home still remains a mystery. All that is left is hope and the prayers of their family that the government will at least put a little more effort into ensuring the safe return of their loved ones. Trix Ingado, KTN News, Nairobi. All right, so it's close to 2 years since the detainment of those 4 Kenyans in Juba, South Sudan. And our triple question this afternoon is, has the Kenyan government done enough, do you think, to secure the release of her citizens detained in that country, South Sudan? Do you think the Kenyan government has done enough to secure the release of her citizens detained in South Sudan since the June of 2015? Get in touch with us on KTN News. You can tweet me directly at Sophia Wanuna. Joining me in studio is relatives of 2 of those Kenyans. On my far right is Esther Osania. She is wife to one of the detainees. And next to me is Tejal Gagda, sister to one of the detainees as well. We thank you for being with us here on Wildview. Let's begin with you, Tejal, and talk about how did this happen? Your brother, it is?
Yes.
Had been in South Sudan, doing what exactly, for how long?
So Ravi had been in South Sudan doing business development, and in fact he traveled to go to South Sudan on 28th of May because he was in Nairobi for a long time. And 29th of May, when the national security arrested the owner of the company, they arrested all the employees, including my brother. Okay. Lucky enough, we were on the phone, so we knew something had happened, but not sure what. And after a week of no news, when my family traveled to look for him, they were threatened as well, saying, "Why do you ask? And if you continue asking, we will arrest you as well." And they had to travel back. And that's when the first time we reported this issue to Foreign Affairs. And ever since then, we've been going there constantly for support, which we don't receive.
So they were arrested on the 19th of May?
29th of May.
29th
yes.
of May. All right. And when was they sent to prison?
June 13th of June 2016.
Between that period of time, was there a legal process?
No, they were arbitrarily detained.
Okay.
Yes, for 9 months.
What about you, Esther?
Okay, my hubby traveled in South Sudan in 2014 May after my delivery to my son, and he went there through a friend who contacted him, and he was doing graphics and designing. So on 29th of May, remember, I called him but I never got hold of him. Then I contacted a friend who told me that they were just somewhere around but he never knew where they were. So after contacting other family friends, other family members, that is when we knew that they've been detained. Yeah.
And what does the South Sudanese government say?
They're not saying anything, they're just quiet. They don't do anything at all.
And have you had an opportunity to talk to your husband?
I remember it was just once a while, I can't remember when, but they were given phone to communicate to the family members. That is when I communicated with him.
So just one time since then?
Yeah.
What about you?
I traveled to South Sudan in September last year
Yes.
to see my brother and the rest of the Kenyans. And that is the first time I had a communication with him, to which all 4 Kenyans were surprised that the government has not done anything about their release. Yet in courts, we had our embassy consular officers attending the session, and they had acknowledged Kenyans were never mentioned in court. That means they had no case to answer.
Yeah.
Yet they've been sentenced to life imprisonment.
So is there a common thread amongst the 4 that were arrested from visiting them, talking to them? Is there something that they all had in common to have and warrant this kind of a charge, if at all?
The only thing common that they have is they were working for an employer who was a government officer. His name is John Agao, and he's a South Sudanese. So he is a government officer who had direct contact with the State House, but the Kenyans were working for him in a company dealing with electronic items. So now this is where the link comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where is this employer?
He's been jailed as well with his wife. Yes.
Okay. So your husband has not seen you. Is it a son or a daughter?
No.
Since he left when my son was 10 months old. Right now my son is 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has that period been like? Described for us.
It was so traumatizing. I remember, he was the breadwinner that time. The mom and other family members were, he was the one who was supporting them and also supporting me. So it was so difficult. Even I remember there was a day my landlord came. I had arrears, house rent arrears, 72,000 Kenya shillings, of which it was so difficult for me to raise until my dad chipped in. That's where I moved from Nairobi back to the village in Western. Then after a while, then I came here to Nairobi to follow up the story regarding my hubby's case, and I landed a job somewhere. Yeah, that's why since 2015 now, I got a job in 2016 December.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was so difficult for me. Even I remember my son was having a chronic pneumonia. It was so difficult to move with him around. It wasn't that easy. Very, very difficult for me. And you cannot. I never wanted to rely on my parents. So it was so traumatizing. I never had anyone to help me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how has it been for you? I imagine it's quite difficult as well.
Yes, it is. In fact, as we speak right now, my dad has had to travel to India for medical support because he's not been keeping well. And same with my mom. It's been really hard to keep them together right now.
Very sorry to you both. But what is the Kenyan government saying?
So it's very astonishing because here is a letter from Foreign Affairs addressed to Parliament, where she is actually, Ambassador Mina has addressed saying that the government strongly condemns that these Kenyans have been wrongfully convicted and that she's using her diplomatic channels to sort this issue out. And it's been done since 4th of July and we've had no support thereafter. In fact, if anything, ever since the campaign has started on social media, Foreign Affairs actually even blocked us. So.
What do you mean blocked you?
Yes, they blocked us on Twitter because we kept tweeting to them. They were not giving us an audience. We ended up tweeting to them and they blocked us, and I've shared a screenshot.
Yeah.
And today, when we held a vigil last night, Foreign Affairs has actually shared photos of Free South Sudan to Citizen TV instead of sharing it with the family members.
Wow.
So
photos of them?
Yes.
Yes.
So the ambassador must have visited our 4 Kenyans, and we're not informed that these people.
So how with them?
The Kenyan ambassador in South Sudan.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
He must have gone to visit our people.
Right.
But we're not informed. Today, when Citizen TV must have called them, is when they're being informed that he was visited, and we are seeing photos on social media. So we're wondering why the government is not acknowledging the families, yet they're going to media and using this as a PR stunt.
And have you had any audience with the minister or the PS or anybody from government?
We did in October 2015, after we held a hunger strike outside Foreign Affairs. And she addressed the family members, and she raised her concerns that she's aware 2 to 3 weeks she would bring our boys back home. This is when they were arbitrarily detained. And ever since then, we've written tons of letters, but we've never had an audience with her. Same, we've dropped out letters to His Excellency, our President, at State House and Office of the President, to which no response. And hence we had to place the adverts on Nation and Standard yesterday, to which, as yet, no response from the government.
What does this make you feel? I mean, because we've seen other countries and how it is they respond when just even one, of their own is in trouble in a different country. They will mobilize all resources. So with this kind of campaigns you've put out, whether it's social media, being blocked by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that is an absurdity of its kind. And also just, putting out adverts for yourselves. She gave word to you, has not acted on the same. What does this make you feel as a Kenyan? What would your appeal be if she was watching right now?
Okay, first of all, even I myself can't be proud to be a Kenyan because there's nothing they've done. And remember, there are many Kenyans who have died in South Sudan and many foreign countries, but the Kenyan government is not doing anything. They're not doing anything concrete. We've really tried our level best since 2015. Can you remember now, almost 3 years down the line, nothing at all, no communication, nothing. They're just so quiet until we go to the media. That's now they start raising eyebrows. But there's nothing they've done, nothing. I can just say that. Yeah.
Do you sometimes worry you'll never see your husband again?
Okay.
Has that ever crossed your mind?
What I know, since 2015, it's only God. We survive by God's grace and mercy, and that's why our people are still alive. We give thanks to God. But okay, one day I don't know when he will be back, but I know
You're keeping hope alive.
Yeah, I'm keeping hope towards my son, and I know one day he will eventually come. Though, as we know, South Sudan is not a country that we can rely on, but I pray that this happen. Okay, my hope is just on God, whom I do pray each and every day. Yeah.
She's not proud to be Kenyan, are you?
No, I'm not. At this particular point, I'm not, because I feel that the state has failed us. We have done everything we could. We have knocked on every single door we have, but we've not got any response from anyone. Yet, everyone is aware of this issue. So my appeal to Ambassador Amina Mohammed, she promised us, she looked us in the eye and she said, she's aware the pain of a mother, the pain of a sister, the pain of a wife. And she promised to bring our boys back home. And we still await to her, and we appeal to her to fulfill her promises, as well as to His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. We appeal for your intervention and assistance, because it is only you that can bring our boys back home.
Yeah. And your appeal to the minister, finally?
Okay. My appeal is, please, I know they have sons, I know they have children. Let them just take it as their children. Please, just bring our people back home so that we can have a peace of mind and at least continue with our daily activities. And that is just my prayers. He's the only person who can bring our people back home, because it's not easy for us. We are not sleeping. Every now and then we have to knock on each and every door so that we can get assistance. It's not easy at all. In fact, when my son will start asking me, where is my dad? I don't know how I'll answer. It has really affected me psychologically. Even I remember this time I used to take painkillers, strong painkillers each and every day, because I was also depressed, and it has really affected my health status. So I'm just appealing to the President of Kenya, please.
Yeah. And Kenyans, before we move on, watching this, you're saying you've been blocked on Twitter, on social media, as you've been, you've kept up the pressure to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Is there a hashtag you're using that others could use to tweet right now to keep the pressure up?
Yes, our hashtag on Twitter is Free South Sudan 4. So that is FREE, capital S, Sudan, and 4. And our Facebook page is Focus, FOKAS. These are the 2 social media handles that we're currently using. We kindly ask for your support.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us, Tejal Gagarda and Esther Osania. Pole sana, this is unacceptable, unimaginable, the kind of agony you and your families are going through, but we do pray and hope this will be resolved. And definitely the government is their responsibility, as they've given their word to resolve this matter. Definitely hope it should be resolved expediently from this moment forth. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.